All right, Paolo, come on back in. Paolo, we have fun.
It's so cute. I love it. I can't stop laughing.
You're laughing with us, aren't you?
Yes, of course.
Yeah. All right. So you laid the groundwork to create your talk show. How did you go about making it happen?
I came home from working on the talk. It was towards the end of this first season of the show. And my husband was on the couch watching TV. And I said, hey, I need your help. And he said, what? And I said, I don't want to wait for someone to offer me this or for the phone to ring. I said, can you help me start like our own web show, our own online celebrity talk show? And that same day, my husband went upstairs on his computer and he literally created the logo and he was putting things together because he's like the one person who believes in me so much. And then that was the beginning of who would have thought, here we are 10 years later, but he's the one who helped me start it all. Yeah.
What is introduce your husband. His name is
Patrick Thomasy. I met him how long has it been? No, you know what you did? It's because Russell told me to have a drink before, and I don't at nighttime, so I don't like drinking at all. Period. But I'm drinking now, and I'm a little. Ooh.
That's fine. That's fine.
No, but
what did Patrick do other than lay on the couch?
No, well, he that same week he actually went on YouTube and started doing some research because he didn't know how do you lighting and sound and like recording using more than one camera, and he learned it on his own. Like that reel you played in the beginning of your show, it took him a few months because when you have so much footage to put it all together and kind of make it flow. My husband did that, and it's all from learning on YouTube on editing and lighting and sound. So it's like I do the booking and I do the talking and the researching. My husband does everything else, the lighting, sound, editing. So yeah, and that's together we made A Spoonful of Paolo.
Wow. Who was your first guest?
Our first guest was Sharon Osbourne. She was our first guest. Yeah. Because when I worked on the talk, I knew that I wanted her to be the first guest since I was working on the show. So I had asked her assistant who takes care of Sharon. I said, do you think Sharon would be a first guest on, A Spoonful of Paolo that I'm creating? And she's like, a what? I said, A Spoonful of Paolo. She's like, I'll ask her. And I didn't think she's going to say yes. But then she came back to me a couple months later and said, hey, Sharon said, yes, she's going to be your first guest. And then and then we did that.
How exciting! How exciting! Where did you start off? Where was your first studio? Where did you
so when we had a studio in West Hollywood, our home, which we transform into our studio. But then sometimes we go to the guests, so we leave it up to the publicists. If the guests come to us, they come to us, and we set up all our stuff in our studio home. And if they don't come to us, we go to them. Like for Sharon Osbourne, we taped it in her dressing room. Like for Gayle King, we went to CBS this morning and taped it on the set. Andy Cohen was on the set of Andy Cohen. So it just depends who we get. And, we try to make it easy as possible for the guests as well.
So you traveled, is Andy in New York?
Yeah, Andy's in New York. So when we were living in LA at the time, we went to New York, and then we did in 1 week we did Fran Drescher, Andy Cohen, and we did someone else. Who? Oh, and Nate Berkus. So we did all three of them in New York, and it was all on location, in their studio or their home.
How exciting! How exciting! How often do you put out a show?
When I can book the celebrities. So we in the beginning, we're doing it once a week, but then it just became so much work for us. So whenever, I do submissions to all publicists like every week. I just have a whole thing that I keep doing, and I do follow-ups. And so I say on an average, we do maybe like two interviews a month then. Yeah, 2 or 3.
How exciting. And do you have a regularly scheduled time when they're put on the air?
We usually put them out on Tuesdays on our website. And then, it's all on Instagram, Twitter, and all that stuff. Yeah. So depending on who we can get, and then we release them on a Tuesday or Thursday. And then I let everybody know that. So it's been amazing. Amazing.
The reel that we showed earlier, some of those guests, Carol Burnett, my gosh, how could you sit beside her and not just
I went when we had to go to Netflix because she was doing she had a series it was a couple years ago, and we had to go to Netflix, and I told Patrick, who's setting up the stuff, I go, hey, look, I have to go to the bathroom because I'm getting nervous. Let me go. I have to go to the bathroom, and then I'll before she comes in here. Well, when I came out of the bathroom, Carol Burnett and her whole team was walking as I got out of the bathroom. I'm like, oh my God, this is not where I wanted to meet you. And I said, hello, I'm Paolo. She goes, I know, I'm Carol. And she was so nice to my husband and I. night. And then we got into the room and everything was all set and we did the interview. And it is one of my favorite interviews because just from that clip you saw, she got really emotional because we presented a gift to her and come out, a year later, her publicist is telling me she has that gift right there in her living room and she stares at it all the time. So it's just so amazing.
Okay, what was the gift?
It was an award, like a legacy award that we had, like my husband created on this 3D glass, and it was her picture on there. And on the top and the bottom was a row, and it had all of her like legend, like icon roles that she played. And so when she saw that, it was just amazing. Yeah.
Ev, there were many of your guests who became emotional. What's your touch? What do you do to them?
I don't know. You know what? I'm telling you, Amber, I just feel like I have a connection with people. It's one thing I've learned is just to listen to their story. And when you listen, sometimes I don't even look at my cards, my notes, and I just go with them. But it's a connection that I have that I just love people. I can relate to them because everybody has a story and it's a dream story. And that's what our show's about, is dreaming big. So when they share their personal story about how they got to where they are today, it just inspires me. And it's just a connection, that I have with them. And yeah, when they start crying, then I start crying, and it's a beautiful moment. Yeah.
The interviews you did in person where they did cry or took a tissue, did you keep those tissues?
Some of them, yeah.
Little baggies, filed.
Like, Kristen Chenoweth just cried. I'm keeping this tissue, girl. You're not going to see that, Carol Burnett, give me that tissue. It's going in our tissue box. Oprah said, when we interviewed Oprah, she said she got emotional when we gave her gift. And I said, ooh, girl, when she touched my hand, I said, ooh, I'm never washing this hand. But yeah.
Oprah. Do you keep in touch? Are you on? You send Christmas cards?
You know what? She gave me a wedding gift when my husband and I got married in 2015. We invited her to the wedding, and unfortunately, she couldn't come. But she sent us a wedding gift to my husband and I, which was beautiful. But she follows me on Twitter, so it's great. And my mom's been sick, and she wanted to know how my mom is doing, which is so kind of her. But so we keep in touch, not as much like hey girlfriend, what you doing tonight? Want to come over? But just where I've been a huge impact, on her show, which is one of they always say I'm one of the wildest dream surprises ever on the Oprah Winfrey Show. So for them, it's just something for her, Oprah and her crew that just always will remember. And, and it's just so cool.
Have any guests surprised you with anything, whether it be a story from their past or something that you weren't expecting?
It's just sometimes, because I do so much research and I always get a feel of how the guest is going to be. But the truth is, sometimes I always think, so-and-so, I don't want to give any names, but like so-and-so is like, okay, is not so like kind of blah. But then when I do the interview, I don't know what it is. It's like I see a different side of them. And it's maybe because I try not to ask the same question that they just did their press tour. And it's just the same routine. I always try to keep it so different. So I have to say most of the time with all the guests that I've been able to interview, maybe just one Real Housewife, I really didn't enjoy the interview because she was just kind of like not so nice, but I'm not saying what franchise, New York, but that's it, so yeah, but most of it I have to say, like, Judith Light, Tony Danza, Kristen Chenoweth, they've all, just so many, they've just been so kind.
Judith Light, an icon to the gay community. My goodness, how thrilling that must have been just to talk to her, because knowing all the support she's given to us over the years.
The LGBTQ plus community, I'm telling you, Judith Light, she came on in our 4th season. So we just launched our 11th season, but I tried since the first day we launched our episode to book Judith Light. And for 4 years, I kept trying and trying and trying. And I know all her PR people. And even that's why in the reel you guys see, Judith was like saying, thank you so much for your patience. And also seeing that I didn't give up, that I was so persistent and saying, look, I really need to do this interview. And I promise you, it's going to be one of the best interviews she's ever done. And literally it's one of my favorite interviews because, I grew up watching her on Who's the Boss and knowing how much she's done for our community. I even get the chills even saying it, that is just, that's a dream interview for me. Yeah.
Laurie Metcalf, one of my favorite actresses. My gosh, what she does on the Conners is just beyond.
So good. Yeah, so good.
You see an actor commit themselves to a role. That's Laurie Metcalf on the Connor.
Yeah.
What teared her up? She got a little teary with you.
We presented a check because she is one of the co-founders of the Steppenwolf Theater here in Chicago.
Yes,
so at the end of the interview was our way of saying thank you for being a guest on our show. We presented a check for $600 that we were going to give to the theater because it was during the pandemic where theaters were closed. Everything was all online. They're not, the crew, the actors aren't, what money are they making? So when we presented that check to her, she got so emotional. And that for me was a surprise. I was shocked because she's been doing acting for decades now, and so it was just one that I'm like, wow, like, even that when I reached out to her team and they said, yes, she wants to be a guest on your show, I was just like, oh my God, because I'm a huge fan of hers. And like, even watching the Connors now, she's just like, that is pure talent. She's like pure talent.
Oh, I had a good question there. Where did it go?
What about Lori Roseanne, the Connors? Yeah. I love Lori. She's so talented. So it was so fun interviewing her. She was so great. Yeah.
So give me some other stories of some of the other guests that you've had.
Like I would say, when we work, I never know what to expect because look, it's just my husband and I who work on the show. So it's not like, and most of the time they don't want to see my questions beforehand. We've been so fortunate that they don't want to see the questions. Only 2 or 3 maybe of our guests, but overall, we just do it together and they have fun. But I have to say, overall, it's just all about dreaming big. So watching all of our guests and them sharing their story is like, because every guest that we've interviewed they all have an inspirational story and they all, it wasn't so easy to get where they are today. So listening to their story and saying how hard it took, and believing in themselves is just inspired me because that's where we are, my husband and I, season 11, crazy. And Florence Henderson, like when we interviewed her before she passed away, and she was one of my first guests that I interviewed. And I was at Target in aisle 6 when she emailed me herself saying, I'll do your web show. I'll never forget that. Like, I'll never forget that. I'm like,
clean up on aisle 6.
Yeah, aisle 6 at Target, and I'm getting an email from Florence Henderson. God bless her soul,
Now, when the COVID lockdown started, that's when we started doing this show. This is our 81st episode of Amber Live.
Congratulations.
Thank you. How did your show change your format, your way of going about things when COVID hit?
Yeah, Amber, when everything started shutting down, I told Patrick, oh, no. That means we're going to have to wait till we can do interviews in person because I don't know if I'm going to have a connection with guests doing Zoom. Like I wasn't a big fan of doing it over Zoom. But then I saw Live with Kelly and Ryan. They were one of the first ones to do these Zoom interviews, like Ryan from his home, Kelly from her home. And then as I'm watching more and more and more, I was like, well, it doesn't look like we're going to be doing interviews together. So maybe we have to do these Zoom interviews. And I remember Rosie, Lynn Whitfield, Lonnie Love, they were our first guests to do it through the Zoom. And I cannot tell you, I'm like, you know what? This actually works. Like there's still a connection that I feel through the monitor. I'm like, we're going to keep doing this because I love it so much. And I'm feeling, what they're giving us. It's so awesome.
We found that they're more accessible, and you're sure, I don't have to fly to Burlington, Vermont. I could do it in my living room and, in my underwear if I need to.
I know. I'm wearing black pants for you, Amber, but it's true. Like we've saved so much money not traveling to the guests. Like now that we live in Chicago, we would before travel to LA or New York. Those were the 2 main coasts that we would travel to. But now that, everything's basically this, I'm like, you know what, this is okay. I do miss it in person, but I know in time it will get there. But for right now, we're okay. Like this is great.
People are more willing, especially it's a little less inviting now that things are opening up for now.
Yes.
But when no one can go anywhere, sure, I'll talk to you.
Yes, exactly right.
All right. You're starting your 11th season. Any plans to change, or what would you like to do after A Spoonful is
what's so cool is that because my husband and I, we always say it's the best thing is because I've worked on all these other shows where there's so much control and crew and executive producers. The cool thing about our shows there's only 2 people, my husband and I. So I feel like we can just take it our way, have fun with it, and it's really one of the best things I think we've ever it's brought us so much closer. We have so much fun, and we could do it our way. No one's telling us, ask this question, do this. We could do it our way, and that's what makes it so unique and special, doing it like this.
How exciting. How exciting. So do you have a side gig? Does your husband have a side gig?
Yes, my husband and I, we do social media for my dad's store. So my dad has 6 grocery stores here in Chicago, outside of Chicago. And so
what's the name of the store?
Valley Produce. Okay. Yeah. So we do all the social media. My husband does the creating, the drawing, and I do the posting. So that is our gig. And then A Spoonful of Paolo. I like to say Spoonful of Paolo is my real job, and working at my dad's store is our side job. So that's what I say. Yes.
Well, how exciting, Paolo. Thank you so much. It's been a thrill to talk to you and hear your stories. Good luck to you. And I can't wait to see who's your new great interview is.
Thank you.
Can you give us any clues?
I'm trying to I'll give you someone from Dynasty. She's a diva.
Oh, how many are still alive?
One of them is alive, the main one. There's 2 of them. 3 of them. One's gone Blake. There's Crystal and there's Alexis. So the evil one, maybe. Yeah.
Oh, how exciting. How exciting.
Thank you,
we'll tune in. Thank you very much, Paolo. Have a good evening.
Thank you so much. I loved it.
Oh, how exciting. Wow. Wasn't that fun? Oh, a girl can dream, can't she?